I'm going to share with you the science that is so new, it is not yet in the textbooks. In the modern world, we base our understanding of our lives and the universe upon science. And science is good, and sometimes science is wrong. There are two places where science has made false assumptions about you, about me, about our universe, about this world. And this is very, very important, and this is why we're here today. Science tells us that the space in the emptiness of the universe is truly empty. And we know that that is not true. That the space between you and me and the space between the stars, they say, is empty. But that's not true. Nothing could be further from the truth. Because there's something in that space. And that something is what gives us the power to heal our bodies and to bring peace to our world and to change this world if we understand the language to speak to that stuff that is in the emptiness. Science tells us there's nothing there, number one. Number two, science tells us that the inner experience in your heart, in my heart, that our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our prayers, our beliefs in our bodies have no effect on the world beyond our bodies. These are false assumptions. There is something in the emptiness. There is a language that lives in every human that walks this earth. It's a language of no words. It's the language of human emotion. It's a language that was lost to Western traditions 1,700 years ago. But it's a language that has been remembered in ancient and indigenous traditions. We're going to learn how to use this language to speak to this field, the divine matrix, in a way that is meaningful and useful in our lives. I'm going to share a story with you. It's a true story. It's a story of the birth of two baby girls, twins, and they were born prematurely, 7 weeks premature. And there is a practice in the United States when babies are born prematurely. The first thing they do is separate the babies. Now, can you imagine living in the womb of your mother for 6 or 7 or 8 months and living close to another being, your twin brother or your twin sister, and hearing the heartbeat of your mother every day and the heartbeat of your twin every day, and suddenly you're taken from that environment, and the first thing that happens is you're separated, and they put one twin, one premature baby in one incubator, and the second baby in a second incubator under the hot lights of the intensive care unit in the hospital. They put them in separate rooms, lying on their stomachs, face down. That's what they do with the new babies, the premature babies. So these two baby girls came into the world. And this is what happened. They were separated, taken to different rooms, and immediately one of the little girls began to fail. Her vital signs began to drop. She was dying. There was a nurse who was working at the time. And the nurse said, "I must do something or this baby will die." She said, "I'm going to break the rules. I'm going to break the protocol." And she reached in, picked up the young baby that was dying. She took her into the intensive care unit with her sister, and you know where the story's going. You know what happened. She put the weaker girl in the incubator with the stronger girl. But this is where the story gets really interesting. And this is what tells me what I'm about to share with you is something that we are born with. It's not something that we learn. Because here is what happened. They put the weaker baby girl in with the stronger one. And immediately the stronger one reached out with her arm and placed her arm around the shoulders of her baby sister. And the minute she did that, the instant she did that, her sister's vital signs stabilized. And she got stronger and stronger and stronger, and they both lived. Okay, can you feel that feeling? Can you feel that? I can see you're holding your heart. Some of you have tears in your eyes. Why? That feeling is a language. That feeling is a power that lives inside of your body. If I had walked onto this stage and said, now, have that feeling, it may have been hard to do. But you saw an image that gave you a reason for that feeling. It's a powerful story. It's a powerful image. It's true. And the two girls lived, and they're doing very well today. Is something that does not happen in your mind. It happens in your heart. The image and the story went directly to your heart. It bypassed your mind. It bypassed the filters. It bypassed the logic, the questions, the conditioning, the judgment. It was just a feeling. Today, modern science is beginning to understand that that feeling that happens inside of our bodies has a direct effect on the stuff our world is made of, on the atoms and the molecules of our physical world. I'd like to invite you into the monasteries of Tibet, into the monasteries of Egypt and Peru, because it's in those places that the wisdom is kept of the language of our hearts, the wisdom in their cultures that was lost in our cultures. We will see a woman that has been diagnosed with cancer, and we can see inside of her body through ultrasound, through a sonogram, and we can watch this practice of human emotion, focused human emotion, heal that cancer in less than 3 minutes. Who are we? Well, this is the great question that has been asked by scientists for 400 years. When I was in school, I was taught that the universe began a long time ago, and that we have come along relatively recently, and that we are essentially powerless specks of dust in the universe. And after we are gone, the universe will never know that we were here. That's what I was taught when I was in school. Does that sound familiar to you? That's one way of thinking. There is another way of thinking that says something very different. It says the universe began a long time ago. We have come along relatively recently. However, we are powerful creators that are changing our world and changing the universe as we live our lives. And this is the controversy of the scientists. Albert Einstein believed the first idea. Albert Einstein said we live in a world which exists independently of us humans, which stands before us like a great eternal riddle, at least partially accessible to our inspection and thinking. It's very complex. What he's saying is, Albert Einstein believes that we will be lucky if we understand even a little bit of how the universe works, and that we are very insignificant. A colleague of Albert Einstein was alive during his time and is still alive today. His name is Professor John Wheeler, Princeton University physicist. He's still with us today. John Wheeler says completely the opposite. They studied in the same time, they had the same information, the same books, the same data, and they had very different opinions. Look at what John Wheeler says. John Wheeler says we could not even imagine a universe that did not contain us, because he says it is the act of us observing the universe that makes the universe as it is. He says that we are tiny specks, tiny patches of the universe looking at itself and building itself in what he calls a participatory universe. Participatory. It means that we are not controlling the universe. We are not imposing our will upon the universe. We are participating, co-creating. Very, very powerful, what John Wheeler is saying. This is a scientist saying that consciousness is creating our physical universe. The question is, if feeling and consciousness is creating, what is it that we feel? What do we believe about our world? The new discoveries suggest that the power to change our bodies and to change our world is based in what we call belief. Our belief of what is real. We live our lives based in what we believe. My question is, where do those beliefs come from? And what I found is that those beliefs come from what other people tell us. The beliefs come from what history tells us, what science tells us, what religion tells us, what our culture, what our family, our friends tell us. That's where our beliefs come from. Would you agree with that? What if they're wrong? What if you and I are living our lives in the beliefs of other people who are incorrect? How powerful do you think a belief really is? How powerful, truly? There's an author, his name was Neville, in the early 20th century. He wrote a book called The Power of Awareness, beautiful book. And what Neville said was this. He said that our power of belief is a power, an infinite power against which no earthly force is of the slightest significance. Our power of belief is an infinite power against which no earthly force is of the slightest significance. Do you believe that you have a power within you against which no earthly force is of the slightest significance? Is that possible? Do you believe that?